Tokyo ravens are set in modern Japan, which has now legalized the practice of magic in everyday life. Even magic has become one of the compulsory subjects taught in high schools in Japan. This practice of magic began when Japan was defeated during the Second World War. At that time, an old man named Yako Tsuchimikado possessed the strongest magic skill and was assigned to widely teach modern magic and protect downtown Tokyo with his magical rituals. But one day, he made a mistake in one of the magic rituals that made the city of Tokyo a magnetic field for several demons and dangerous supernatural phenomena. That's why the government formed an army called the Juni Tenso Troop, consisting of 12 holy generals who had very high magic skills to protect the city of Tokyo. Several hundred years later, after Yako Tsuchimikado's death, some people believe that Yako has been reincarnated into one of the descendants of the Tsuchimikado family. One of the daughters of the Tsuchimikado nuclear family, named Natsume Tsuchimikado, is considered to have inherited the magical power of Yako. Therefore, Natsume enters the best magic academy in Japan to train to protect her family and carry on the great responsibility of the Tsuchimikado family. While she is studying at the magic academy, she must disguise herself as a male student to maintain the tradition and prestige of the Tsuchimikado family. In addition to the nuclear family, Tsuchimikado has non-nuclear families who are required to learn protection magic to protect the Tsuchimikado nuclear family. One of them was Harutora Tsuchimikado. Harutora is a young man from the non-court Tsuchimikado family and has no magic power. He couldn't even perform the most basic magic skill, which was to detect the presence of supernatural spirits around him. However, when Harutora was a child, he had promised Natsume that he would be her personal servant and protect her when he grew up. But as Harutora grows older, he begins to realize his shortcomings and limitations in magic. He loses his will to study magic and bury his dream of becoming an Onmyoji. Onmyoji itself is a term used to refer to someone who has magical genius skills. At the beginning of the anime, the scene shows the time when Harutora is enjoying the night market festival in his village with his two friends, Hakuto and Toji. On the night of this festival, Hakuto made a wish at a shrine for Harutora to study and practice being an Onmyoji. Harutora, who saw the contents of Hakuto's request, was very annoyed with her, who kept pressuring him to become an Onmyoji. Seeing Harutora's angry-looking reaction, Hakuto felt sad and disappointed, so she decided to leave the shrine. Shortly after, a teenage girl named Suzuka Darenji appeared before Harutora and Toji. Suzuka is a former member of the army of 12 holy generals who is being wanted by government officials because she is suspected of planning to perform a forbidden magic ritual. Currently, Suzuka is looking for a member of the Tsuchimikado family so she can take her magic power and use it to perform a soul-returning ritual. In the middle of their conversation, several officers from the Magic Investigation Department came to arrest Suzuka to prevent the forbidden ritual about to be carried out by her. But all the officers from the Magic Investigation Department could easily be defeated by her with the help of her army of occult spirits. After all the officers were defeated, Suzuka then arrested Harutora because she thought he was a member of the nuclear family of Tsuchimikado. But after hearing Hakuto, who came calling Harutora's name, Suzuka realized that he was not the Tsuchimikado nuclear family she had been after. Actually, she is looking for the heir to Yako Tsuchimikado's magic power, which is none other than Natsume Tsuchimikado. Suzuka decided to let Harutora go after she forcibly kissed him. Hakuto, who secretly had feelings for Harutora, felt heartbroken seeing that. The next day, Harutora comes to a place to warn Natsume about Suzuka, who is actively hunting her. But Natsume ignored Harutora's words because she still had to stay for some time to protect her family's sacred altar in the village. She had not been able to return to Tokyo before she prevented Suzuka, who was about to perform the forbidden ritual at the altar. The forbidden ritual that Suzuka will perform is a ritual used to restore the souls of people who have died. The ritual was last used by Yako Tsuchimikado and can only be performed using the magic power of the Tsuchimikado family. Harutora suddenly felt something strange from inside his body in the middle of their conversation. He felt suffocated and vomited a talisman paper that turned into a bee. The bee instantly stung Natsume's neck and drained her magic power. It turned out that the bee was a shikigami or messenger spirit created by Suzuka that had been inserted into Harutora's body during their kiss last night. Natsume, who fell limp because she had lost her strength and some of her magic power, was immediately brought by Harutora back to her house so that she could perform the healing ritual. After dropping Natsume to her house, Harutora immediately went to look for Suzuka, who had brought a shikigami that contained Natsume's magic power. When he found Suzuka, he discovered why she insisted on doing the forbidden ritual. She wants to bring her dead older brother back to life because she loves him so much. She was even willing to sacrifice herself to save the older brother. Hearing that, Harutora tried to persuade Suzuka to give up her intention. But the attempt failed because there was a police officer suddenly attacked her. Suzuka, who felt angry, started to attack the policeman and Harutora. Just as Suzuka's magical spirit warrior was about to attack Harutora, Hakuto suddenly came and protected him. As a result, she was pierced by the poisonous fangs of the supernatural spirit and died. Before her last breath, Hakuto confessed her love for Harutora, then turned into a paper talisman. After Hakuto's death, Harutora immediately ran into tears to meet Natsume, recovering at her home. Harutora pleaded with Natsume to accept him as her personal magic servant. Seeing the earnestness in Harutora's eyes, Natsume immediately agreed to Harutora as her servant. She then performed a small ritual by placing an asterisk on Harutora's face with her blood to signify Harutora's service contract to her. The asterisk had a spell that could allow Harutora to see the supernatural spirits around him. He looked amazed by the spell because he had never seen a supernatural spirit before. On the following night, Natsume and Harutora immediately went to the sacred altar located on the village hilltop. They were a little late because Suzuka had already prepared all the ritual tools, such as the body of her older brother and the thousands of talismans she made with her own blood to begin the soul-returning ritual. She then inserted the shikigami that contained the magical power of Natsume into her brother's body and began to cast a soul-returning spell. Unfortunately, the result of the ritual wasn't like Suzuka's expectations. Her resurrected older brother suddenly attacked Suzuka as if he didn't recognize her. It turned out that there was a demon spirit controlling Suzuka's brother's body. Harutora, who had arrived at the altar, immediately ran to save Suzuka by attacking the evil spirit from Suzuka's brother's body. Fortunately, Natsume was able to seal the evil spirit by using her magic power. After Suzuka realized that she would never be able to bring her brother back to life, she looked very sad and disappointed. A desperate Suzuka decided to let Harutora kill her as revenge for Hakuto's death. However, Harutora seemed to have forgiven Suzuka and had no intention of hurting her. Then Natsume tells Harutora that Hakuto is just a shikigami controlled by someone somewhere. Hearing that, Harutora felt very relieved and hoped that he would be able to meet the person who controlled Hakuto. A few days later, Harutora begins to move to the city of Tokyo to study at the same magic academy that Natsume attended. Even though he still doesn't have natural magic talent, Harutora is determined to learn magic to protect Natsume. Toji accompanied Harutora to enter the academy so that he could always be with him. When Natsume had met with Harutora in Tokyo, she addressed him in the same way Hakuto used to call him. She even used the exact same ribbon Hakuto usually wore, but Harutora still didn't realize it, and it was Toji realized that Hakuto had been a shikigami created by Natsume. At the dormitory, Harutora had just remembered that he had been given a protective talisman by his father. After the talisman was activated, a cat demon resembling a little girl named Kon suddenly appeared. Kon has a shy and childish personality due to being recently active and still not having much experience. However, she is designed to always protect Harutora from dangers that will befall him later. The next day, Harutora and Toji start their first day as transfer students at the best magic academy in Tokyo. They then met the principal of the magic academy named Mio, and were then guided by a male teacher who would be their homeroom teacher, named Jin Otomo. Otomo-sensei then introduced Harutora and Toji to the rest of the class as new transfer students. At that first meeting, Harutora realized that Natsume looked like a boy and no other student knew that she was a girl. In the middle of the introduction, one of the female students named Kyoko suddenly protested the presence of Harutora and Toji because they could enter the academy in the middle of the semester. She considered it a special treatment that could only be done to the Tsuchimikado family. Hearing the protest, Natsume immediately refuted Kyoko and defended Harutora and Toji. Seeing the tense situation between Natsume and Kyoko, Otomo-sensei decided to let Kyoko go head-to-head with Harutora. As expected, Harutora lost heavily in the fight considering that Kyoko was one of the best students in the academy. But because of this battle, Harutora becomes very popular among his academy friends, because he dares to fight Kyoko, considered an elite student. Harutora's classmates are very impressed with the cute and adorable Kan. Kyoko, who saw this, began to realize her mistake and decided to apologize to Harutora. While Kyoko and Harutora talked in the staircase area, Natsume accidentally saw them and misunderstood their relationship. She looks jealous of the closeness between Kyoko and Harutora. Harutora immediately approached Natsume to explain what really happened to her. But an evil spirit suddenly appears and kidnaps Natsume. One of their classmates named Tenma said that the evil spirit was most likely sent by the Yako Tsuchimikado cult, who was obsessed with resurrecting Yako. The group thinks that by using Natsume's body, which is known to be the reincarnation of Yako, they can resurrect him from the dead. Harutora and Toji ask Tenma, Kyoko, and Kan for help to find Natsume's whereabouts. When Harutora and his friends arrived at Natsume's location, the kidnapper immediately summoned a demon spirit to fight them. Fortunately, Harutora and the others were able to defeat the demon spirit with a combination of magic power and new weapons that Otomo-sensei gave to Harutora. After being rescued by Harutora, Natsume immediately released a dragon spirit that could eat the demon spirit. The man who worshipped Yako, who saw the great power possessed by the dragon, looked stunned and frightened. He finally chose to run away from that place. A few months later, Harutora, Natsume, and the rest of the class will soon face the final exams. Although Harutora tends to be weak in written exams, he shows significant progress in the one-on-one combat exams. Harutora, who is increasingly proficient in using the spear weapon given by Otomo-sensei, can even beat Kyoko in a one-on-one combat test. Furthermore, during the test against evil spirits, the students joined a group to fight the supernatural spirits prepared by the academy. The supernatural spirit suddenly turned into a vast and uncontrollable demon spirit at the test time. The demon spirit even spread out at various points in the city's center. The exorcism department began to detect these spirits' presence and sent troops of holy generals to deal with each evil spirit. Toji, who was experiencing the exorcism test, suddenly fell in pain, and the pain he felt seemed to be related to the evil spirit phenomenon this time. Seeing the evil spirits that began to grow and get out of control, Natsume immediately released the evil spirits around them. But before they could destroy the evil spirit, a giant demon suddenly appeared among them. The demon is known as one of the strongest demons named Nu. One of the 12 generals' envoys named Reiji Kagami is assigned to overcome the evil spirits in the Magic Academy area. With just a short spell, Kagami made Nu feel pain and torment. But just as he was about to seal and destroy the Nu, the demon had managed to recover and escape from there. Kagami, who saw Toji in pain, realized something was wrong with him. With a brief observation, he could immediately identify Toji as a half-demon. Toji's friends looked shocked by Kagami's words because they had known Toji was just an ordinary human all the time, while Harutora, who actually already knew that Toji was a half-demon, wasn't surprised and instead looked sad. The scene briefly changes to the time several years ago when Harutora's father saved Toji from black magic terrorism that attacked the village where he came from. At the time of the Great Terror, Toji was exposed a lot to the power of black magic, which caused changes in his body. Harutora's father, who is an expert with protective powers, decides to seal all the evil energy in Toji's body so that he can live a normal life like other children. All the events in the past explained all the changes that Toji had experienced at this time. The demon spirit attack spread throughout the city has triggered the evil spirit in Toji's body to rise up and take control of his body. After Kagami neutralizes the evil spirit in Toji's body, another holy general named Zenjiro suddenly appears and asks Kagami to come with him to chase the demon Nu. After that, Harutora and his friends immediately took Toji to the hospital so the magic doctors could stabilize the demon seal that Harutora's father had placed in the past. Harutora asked the rest of the class not to be afraid of Toji and remain willing to be friends with him in the waiting room. Not long after, one of the envoys from the principal came to ask Natsume and the others to come to see the principal. The headmaster gets a notification from the extermination department, asking for permission to use Natsume's dragon to lure out demons. In that way, the extermination squad will more easily destroy all the evil demons in their city. After hearing the principal's explanation, Natsume immediately agreed. After the conversation ended, the principal suddenly got a call from the hospital saying that Toji had run away. Harutora, who heard this, was very worried and asked Tenma for help in finding Toji's whereabouts. Meanwhile, Natsume and Kyoko will cooperate with the extermination department to lure the demons. Zenjiro and one of his research partners named Hirata will guide them to the field prepared by the department. As predicted earlier, the dragon summoned by Natsume was able to draw the demons out of the city center and into the traps that the holy generals had prepared. But the demon Nu again managed to escape the magic trap that the holy generals had created. Zenjiro and Natsume decide to chase the demon Nu on a motorbike. Elsewhere, Harutora finally managed to find Toji's whereabouts. Toji, who is currently being controlled by the demon in his body, is starting to feel tired and decides to let himself be crushed by Harutora. Toji thought that he could no longer be controlled like a demon. However, Harutora, who loved Toji as much as his own brother, chose not to give up on him. He tries to make Toji realize that he is not a demon. He then reminds him that now they have many friends who care about him very much. When Toji was about to attack Harutora, Harutora didn't even dodge because he still believed in him. Because of Harutora's sincerity, Toji instantly transformed into his human form again, although in the end, he immediately fell unconscious. Natsume and Zenjiro, who are in pursuit of the demon Nu, suddenly meet Harutora and Kan, who is being attacked by a demon wolf. Zenjiro then ordered Natsume and Harutora to go first to chase the demon Nu while he fought the demon wolf. After Natsume and Harutora managed to find the demon Nu, Harutora, with Kan's help, tried his best to defeat the demon Nu. Meanwhile, Natsume will try to control her dragon to wrap around the demon Nu's body. In times of crisis, Toji suddenly came and brought Harutora's spear and threw the weapon at Harutora. With the help of the weapon, Harutora immediately put all his strength into defeating the demon Nu. After quite a fierce battle, he finally defeated the demon Nu. After the demon Nu was successfully rendered helpless, Natsume immediately cast a spell to seal and destroy the demon. When Harutora, Natsume, Kan, and Toji are on their way home after defeating the demon Nu, a mysterious sedan came closer to them. An old man, named Oman, who was in the car, seemed interested in the skills possessed by Harutora and his friends. Before the Oman left to drive his car, they felt a huge aura from his body. After the demon spirit terror incident that attacked the city a few months ago, Harutora, Natsume, and the others can finally continue their regular school life at the Magic Academy. After completing several semesters at the academy, they had now advanced to the level of seniors at their academy. At the Magic Academy's new student welcome ceremony this time, there was a new female student that Harutora and Natsume didn't expect. The new student turns out to be Tsuchimikado Harutora, who decides to start her life again as a coquettish and kawaii-style Magic Academy student. Seeing Suzuka's presence, Harutora automatically felt depressed, imagining all the trouble that she would create in the future. Even Suzuka had made trouble for Harutora at the admissions ceremony by announcing that he was her first kiss. On another day, when the Academy's camping activities were being held, Harutora and Natsume talked with the rest of their friends about the incident of a demon spirit that attacked the city a few months ago. Suzuka said that the mastermind behind the attack was a syndicate group called Sakaugakai. The Sakaugakai group are radical and fanatical devotees of Yako Tsuchimikado, whose goal is to resurrect Yako. The man who previously kidnapped Natsume is suspected to be from the Sakaugakai group. Suzume, who had experience as part of the Holy General, concluded that there were some people from the Sakagakai group who disguised themselves and entered the Demon Slayer department as spies. The old man named Omon, who approached them on the night of the attack, was part of the Sakagakai group. Then Natsume, who still doubts herself as the reincarnation of Yako Tsuchimikado, asks Suzuka about how to prove that someone is the reincarnation of him. Suzuka said that the only most accurate way to prove this was by wearing Yako Tsuchimikado's crow cloak, which was kept in the office of the Demon Extermination Department. Hearing that answer, Natsume and the others seemed speechless because they couldn't obtain the crow cloak. On the way home from the academy camp activities, Harutora realized that the pink ribbon Natsume was wearing was exactly the same as the one Hakuto used to wear. He began to suspect Natsume of being the one who sent Hakuto's Shikigami. Elsewhere, Zenjiro and his two partners are suddenly attacked by a giant owl that is a Shikigami sent from someone. It turned out that the Shikigami had come to give a message to the Demon Extermination Department, that Thomon would carry out the theft of Yako Tsuchimikado's crow cloak. Zenjiro, knowing that the original crow cloak was in the Magic Academy where Harutora studied, asked his leader named Miyachi to guard the area of the Magic Academy building, while the crow robes in their office are just replica robes. Zenjiro's worries come true. During lunchtime, Thomon and his demon spirit army, in the form of spiders, begin to attack the Magic Academies. As a result, all the teachers immediately evacuated all the students to a safer place. Meanwhile, Harutora, Natsume, and others went up to the school's roof according to the message given by the Shikigami messenger from the principal. On the roof of the school building, the principal has prepared a sacred altar that can protect them from attacks by evil spirits or demons. Unfortunately, the protective altar is not strong enough as Thomon can easily destroy the altar. Thomon then forced the principal to hand over Yako Tsuchimikado's crow cloak hidden in the school building. But the headmaster insisted on refusing and said that she did not know of the whereabouts of the crow's cloak. As the situation grew tense, Otomo-sensei came complete with the attributes of a holy general's robes. The fierce battle between Thomon and Otomo-sensei was quite epic. During their fight, Otomo-sensei immediately realized that Thomon was actually not an ordinary human but a half-demon human who had been controlled by an evil spirit. After trying desperately to confront him, Otomo-sensei, with the help of Zenjiro, finally defeated him. But before Thomon's spirit was finished being sealed, Thomon's body suddenly exploded mysteriously. The Magic Academy building was severely damaged by Thomon's attack. Fortunately, Yako Tsuchimikado's crow cloak had already been secured by Natsume's father. Then, the Magic Academy students' learning activities were temporarily transferred to the Demon Slaying Department building. During the lesson, Kagami was ordered to look after the students of the Magic Academy. He seems to be showing his interest in Harutora's great potential. He feels sure that Harutora has enormous magic power, but he still doesn't realize it. Meanwhile, several Demon Slayer Department officers suspected of being spies for the Sakagakai group were arrested and imprisoned. One of the department's confidants, Hirata, turns out to be a spy from the Sakagakai group. But when the Exterminator Department officer in charge of disciplining the department, named Dai Shin, tries to defeat Hirata, Hirata's body suddenly becomes a teenage girl named Tekiko. The next day, Harutora and Natsume and the rest of his friends are again attacked by demon spirits sent by the Sakagakai group. Kagami's protective spirit that was supposed to protect them turned to attack them. As a result of this attack, they decided to take shelter in the warehouse. Unfortunately, Kagami's Shikigami spirit managed to locate their whereabouts and immediately attacked Harutora with his sword. Luckily, Kon quickly pushed Harutora to protect him from the sword attack. But the incident actually made Natsume hurt, and her identity as a female student was exposed. Seeing Natsume injured, Harutora became even more determined to defeat the demon spirit's attack. After he reactivated the star seal that Natsume had made on his face, in a short time, Harutora's sixth sense started to activate, and he was finally able to increase his magic power significantly. As a result, he could trounce the demon spirit by using wood and fire elemental magic. In the evening, at the exorcism office building, Daishin and his fellow members assigned to a disciplinary mission were summoned by the leader of the Demon Extermination Department, named Genji Kurashi. Seeing Tsuchimikado greeting Genji, Daishin immediately realized that Genji was part of the Sakagakai groups. Daishin was removed from the department unilaterally in an unfair manner. Several months later, the Magic Academy students returned to study in the new Magic Academy school building. Natsume's identity as a female student who was already known by several students began to spread among other students. Luckily, her classmates didn't mind Natsume's identity. They even thanked Natsume and Harutora for saving them the other day. The only person who still doesn't accept that Natsume is a female student is Kyoko. All this time, she has had feelings for Natsume because she thought that Natsume was the boy who had promised Kyoko in her childhood. Knowing that Natsume was a girl, the boy who had promised Kyoko in her childhood was Harutora. Kyoko, who felt indecisive and confused, decided to be alone. Fortunately, Suzuka, who knew about it, immediately tried to comfort Kyoko and persuaded her to make up with Natsume. The next day, Harutora gets a message from his father saying that he is fine. Realizing that there was something strange about his father's message, Harutora immediately found out the truth about his father's condition. It turned out that last night the Tsuchimikado family's house had been scorched by a fire that mysteriously appeared. Those fires were part of Genji's plan to snatch the crow's cloak from the Tsuchimikado family. Now Natsume's father and Harutora's father had failed to guard the crow's cloak. Meanwhile, Genji intentionally sends Tsuchimikado as a spy to a magic academy by disguised as a new transfer student. Tsuchimikado did everything she could to get close to Natsume and Harutora. She even claims that she is a member of the Shoma clan, one of the two clans supporting the Tsuchimikado family. Tsuchimikado, who wants to know how much magic ability Natsume has, decides to invite her to fight one-on-one. After seeing Natsume's ability to fight, she feels disappointed and doubts that Natsume is the reincarnation of Yako Tsuchimikado. The next day, Genji invites Tsuchimikado to talk at the office of the Demon Extermination Department to discuss Natsume, who has been considered the reincarnation of Yako Tsuchimikado. But after knowing that Natsume is a girl, Genji looks very surprised because he had witnessed the birth of Yako Tsuchimikado's child, who was a boy before. That means that the Tsuchimikado family purposely exchanged Yako's child with the child of their sibling to protect the true inheritor of Yako Tsuchimikado's magical power. Hearing Genji's words, Tsuchimikado finally knows who the real heir of Yako Tsuchimikado is. The heir of the original Yako Tsuchimikado is the one who will react when she casts Yako Tsuchimikado's generating spell, and that person was none other than Harutora. That night, Tsuchimikado comes to see Harutora and explains that he is the reincarnation of the real Yako Tsuchimikado. Harutora couldn't use magic in his childhood because Harutora's father had sealed all of his magic power. All of that was done by his father to protect him. Meanwhile, Natsume, who is actually not related by blood to the Tsuchimikado family, is a child who has been prepared to become the reincarnation of the fake Yako Tsuchimikado. After explaining that, Tsuchimikado immediately took off Yako Tsuchimikado's crow cloak and cast Yako Tsuchimikado's generating spell. However, Harutora's body was still not ready to receive the magic power of the crow's robes. As a result, he was possessed by the spirit within the crow's cloak. Seeing this, Natsume and the others tried to catch up and save him. Natsume suddenly remembered the star seal she had created on Harutora's face on the way. The seal had weakened the seal created by Harutora's father. She decided to use the star seal again with full power to break the seal made by Harutora's father. But to do that, she had to sacrifice herself to install her star seal. After placing the star seal, Harutora was finally able to master the crow's cloak. Unfortunately, Natsume was forced to die. Harutora, who felt panicked and confused, immediately tried to save her. Harutora even thought of using a soul-returning ritual to bring Natsume back to life. That's why he immediately took Natsume away to a safer, empty place. He then forced Suzuka to perform the soul-returning ritual that she had previously performed, but she refused the request. Not long after, the troops from the Department of the Magic Institute came to arrest Harutora. The next day, Toji, Kyoko, Suzuka, and Tenma try to devise a plan to get Harutora out of the magical institution's captivity. They wanted to help him to resurrect Natsume. Toji's plan and the others were helped by Otomo-sensei and Oman, who is now obedient to Otomo-sensei. Because of the attacks made by Otomo-sensei and Oman on the Magic Agency's departmental office, Toji and others finally managed to get Harutora out of there. Harutora could even defeat Genji, who kept pressuring him to join the Sakagakai group. After leaving the Magical Agency's departmental office, they retrieved Yako Tsuchimikado's crow cloak with Tenma's help. After that, Harutora decided to perform the soul returning ritual alone. When he was about to take Natsume on the way, Harutora was blocked by Kagami. Although at first, he had a hard time fighting Kagami's magic power. Fortunately, Harutora managed to defeat Kagami with the help of Kon. During the battle, Harutora suddenly recalled the past memory that Yako Tsuchimikado had. In that memory, Harutora finally finds out that Kon is actually Yako's Shikigami named Hishamaru. Harutora immediately called Kon with Hishamaru to awaken Hishamaru's true power. Kon, who has turned into Hishamaru, can now face and defeat Kagami. At the same time, another Yako Shikigami named Kakuji Yaoki suddenly appears and saves Harutora, who was unconscious and almost killed by Kagami's Shikigami. After Harutora woke up from his stupor, Harutora and his two Shikigami immediately went to retrieve Natsume, guarded by Takiko and his two Shikigami. Takiko then gave Natsume to Harutora without the slightest resistance. Apparently, she felt guilty for Natsume's death. After that, Harutora immediately brought Natsume to the Tsuchimikado altar on the roof of the Magic Academy building. He immediately performed a soul-returning ritual to bring her back to life. The scene changes to the moment where Tenma, Toji, Kyoko, and Suzuka get the news that Harutora is fine. But for the time being, he still can't see them. The anime closes with Harutora and Natsume seen in an all-white room. He then apologizes to her and promises that they will reunite one day. The moral that can be learned from this anime is sincerity and trust, which shown by Harutora and the others were supposed to be we had.